the lighthouse that warns no one. Every lighthouse is built for one noble purpose: to save lives, to cut a beam through the dark and guide lost ships home. But the lighthouse I was assigned to, it was different. It stands on a jagged outcrop of black rock sailors have called the Serpent's Teeth for centuries, a place they've always known to avoid, with or without a light. You see, its beam wasn't a warning. It was a welcome, a call, sent out into the infinite, hungry darkness of the ocean, inviting something up from the depths. Section 1, The Arrival. My name is Arthur Wells. I took the post at St. Jude's Beacon not for glory, but for solitude. I just needed a quiet place at the edge of the world to forget the life I was leaving behind. The man from the agency who hired me had a nervous twitch. He explained the lighthouse was privately owned, its official commission having lapsed long ago. My job was simple: just be there, report any major structural problems, and otherwise stay out of sight. The light itself is antiquated, he'd said, refusing to meet my eyes. It's completely defunct. Don't even bother with the lamp room. For the first week, that isolation was a gift. The only sounds were the gulls and the eternal crash of waves against the stone. The tower was a Gothic spire of weathered gray rock. Inside, a dizzying spiral staircase seemed to groan under the weight of its own history. Rust bloomed on every iron surface like a red-orange disease, and a permanent damp chill clung to the air that had nothing to do with the weather. I spent my days exploring my little kingdom. Most rooms were bare, stripped clean. But on the third floor, I found the previous keeper's quarters. It looked like he'd just stepped out for a minute. A single cot, a small desk, and a thick, leather-bound logbook. The first few pages were exactly what you'd expect: weather patterns, supply levels, notes on the lonely passage of time. But then the entries started to change. The handwriting grew frantic, the language biblical and strange. He wrote of a lamentable hum that resonated through the stone on moonless nights. He talked about dreams of drowned cities and a thirst from below. His final entry was scrawled with so much force the pen had torn the page. It was a single, chilling sentence: "The light is not for them. It is for IT. Do not answer the call." That night, my peaceful solitude shattered. A low, resonant hum started vibrating up through the soles of my feet. It was a deep thrumming that felt less like a sound and more like the world itself was changing pressure. I told myself it was the tide, the wind, my own mind playing tricks on me. But then a soft, ethereal green glow began to seep from under the lamp room door. The light was on. Section 2, The Beckoning. I raced up the final flights of stairs, my heart pounding in my throat. The agency man was clear. The mechanism was ancient, rotted, completely useless. How could it be on? The door to the lamp room was heavy iron. As my hand touched the cold metal, I felt that same deep vibration, but stronger now, pulsing like a monstrous heartbeat. I threw my shoulder against it, but it was barred from the inside, a useless precaution, since there was no other way in or out. Through the thick glass porthole in the door, I could see it. The great Fresnel lens was turning, but not in the steady, sweeping rhythm of a normal lighthouse. It moved in jarring, unnatural jerks, and would pause to fix its gaze on a specific patch of the black, churning water below. The light itself was a sickly, phosphorescent green, a color I'd never seen from any man-made lamp. It didn't cut through the darkness. It stained it, pouring into the night like ink into water. Night after night, the same ritual played out. The hum would start at dusk, a sound that felt ancient and impossibly vast, and the green light would ignite. I tried to find its source, to understand how it was powered. I checked the generators in the cellar. They were silent, draped in thick cobwebs. The wiring was frayed and severed in a dozen places. There was no rational explanation. The lighthouse was a corpse, yet its heart started beating every single night. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams became a canvas for nightmares. I dreamt of colossal shapes moving just beneath the waves, of a city built with non-Euclidean angles and impossible geometry resting on the seafloor. I'd wake up shivering, the phantom taste of salt water on my lips, the lamentable hum a permanent echo in my skull. During the day, I became obsessed with the logbook. I read the mad keeper's words until I had them memorized. He wrote of the light as a form of worship, an offering. He described how its pattern would change, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, as if it were in a conversation. It is learning our ways, one entry read. It is patient. He wrote of seeing things in the waves during storms, glimpses of a scale and shape the human mind just wasn't built to comprehend. Then a brutal storm rolled in, turning the sky a bruised purple. The sea rose in a fury, throwing waves against the tower that made the ancient stone shudder. The light ignited hours early, its green beam slicing erratically through the rain. It wasn't rotating anymore. It was fixed on a single point in the ocean, a few hundred yards from the base of the rock. Drawn by a dreadful compulsion I couldn't fight, I went to the window with my binoculars. I focused on the spot where the light hit the water. For a long time, there was nothing but chaos. But then, I saw it. A disturbance. It wasn't a wave, not a whale. It was something rising, something that broke the surface without a splash, that seemed to bend the water around it. My eyes saw a shape, but my brain refused to process it. It was a physical contradiction. It was immense, a fleeting silhouette of spires and curves, and things that looked horribly like limbs, all cloaked in the churning sea. It was there for only a second, a dark violation against the gray chaos, before it slid back into the unfathomable depths. My breath caught in my chest. A primal terror froze me where I stood. The thing in the water was answering the call. Section 3. The climax. The storm was the breaking point. My grip on reality, already fragile, began to crumble. The isolation I'd wanted so badly had become a prison, the lighthouse a tomb. I felt its presence constantly now, a vast sleeping consciousness under the waves. I knew, with a certainty that went beyond logic, that it was aware of me. The hum was no longer just a sound. It was a voice, whispering in a language of pressure and vibration, speaking directly to the oldest parts of my soul. I thought about leaving. I really did. I could pack my bag, hike to the mainland at low tide, and just never look back. But I was paralyzed. Leaving felt like a betrayal, not of the agency, but of the lighthouse itself. I was the keeper. This was my watch. The thought, ripped straight from the logbook, echoed in my mind. I am a priest, not a warden. One night, the hum started differently. Deeper, more insistent. A feeling of imminent arrival filled the air. A breathless anticipation that made every nerve ending scream. The green light filling the tower was brighter than I had ever seen it, pulsating with a sickening rhythm. The storm had passed, and the sea was unnervingly calm, a sheet of black glass under a moonless sky. I knew this was the night, the culmination of everything, the reason this beacon had been built. A strange calm washed over me. The fear was still there, a cold stone in my gut, but it was wrapped in a profound, almost religious sense of purpose. I walked up the spiral stairs, my footsteps the only sound besides the infernal rhythmic pulse from above. This time, I didn't even try the door. I had found the previous keeper's final hidden key, a rust-pocked piece of iron tucked into a hollowed-out stone on the step just below the lamp room door. The lock turned with a deafening shriek of rusted metal. The door swung inward, and I finally saw the source of the light. The great lens was ablaze, but the fire inside was no fire at all. It was a vortex of swirling, incandescent green energy, silent and terrible. The air was thick with ozone and the smell of the deep ocean, of brine and ancient decay. Standing in the center of the room, I could feel the lighthouse acting as a focusing lens, a conduit. All its energy, all its history, was aimed at the abyss, and the abyss was looking back. Compelled by that ancient will, I stepped towards the glass, towards the beam. The keeper's warning screamed in my mind, "Do not look into the beam," but it was a distant echo. The humming intensified, burrowing into my skull, rewriting my very thoughts. I looked down at the patch of obsidian water lit up by the beam. It began as a darkness within the darkness, a patch of sea that didn't reflect the light. Then it rose. It wasn't a creature of flesh and bone. It was living geometry, a being of impossible angles and fluid, shadow-like motion. It ascended from the depths with a silent, majestic horror, its form constantly shifting while holding a terrible consistency. I saw what might have been a head, a shape that unfolded into countless moving appendages. I saw an eye, a vast, circular void that swallowed the green light and reflected nothing. It was a portal to a place of infinite, cold emptiness. My mind tried to scream, but my throat was paralyzed. I was a statue, a witness to a god's arrival. The sight of it was a physical blow, a flood of forbidden knowledge pouring into me. I understood, in that moment, the utter insignificance of humanity. We were a brief, temporary mold, growing on the surface of a world that belonged to them. We were nothing. And this thing, this ancient, malevolent power, had simply been waiting. Section 4. The Resolution. I don't know how long I stood there, transfixed. Time had just stopped. When I finally came back to myself, the first light of dawn was painting the horizon a soft, indifferent gray. The lamp room was dark and silent. The hum was gone. Below, the sea was calm, empty. The god had returned to its sunken throne. I am still here, at St. Jude's Beacon. I never reported back to the agency. They never came looking for me. Maybe they know. Maybe they're part of it too. I haven't tried to leave. I can't. The fear has been burned out of me, replaced by a hollow, terrifying reverence. I am forever changed by what I saw. My mind is no longer entirely my own, but I understand my purpose now. I maintain the lighthouse. I polish the lens, even though it doesn't need my help. I've started a new logbook. My handwriting is calm and neat. I record the tides. I record the weather. And every night, when the green light ignites, I go to the lamp room. I stand my watch. I am the keeper, after all. A keeper of a truth so terrible, it would shatter the world. The light is not a warning. It is a prayer. And I am waiting, with breathless anticipation, for the day my God answers again. The deepest parts of our world are a mystery, and maybe some mysteries are better left unsolved. The fear of the unknown is a powerful thing. Sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't even begin to comprehend. If you enjoy exploring the dark corners of the unknown, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. Let us know in the comments what you think was waiting for Arthur beneath the waves. Thank you for listening.